Welcome to the news update in AFRICUNIA television, reaching you from our studio in the nation's commercial capital, Lagos, Nigeria. I am Deborah, Ezeh. Many thanks for joining us on the news today. We begin with major stories from the Nigerian scene. A support group for the Tinubu-Shettima ticket, the Patriots Roundtable yesterday, urged politicians to embrace a peaceful campaign without malice ahead of the 2023 general elections. Its national coordinator, Uthman Shodikpe-Dosunmu, noted that as the electionary campaign begins, all Nigerians have the right to choose without intimidation. In a statement, Shodikpe-Dosunmu said the Patriots Roundtable is predicted on the unifying core of the Nigerian state, where truth, justice, fairness, and equitable balance are the guiding principle of the state. No nation endures for long without a unifying sense of national cohesive balance, without a common value and defined destination, he said. He also stated the grapple ahead of the 2023 election is now firm and sure. The major protagonists and their acolytes have plunged on democratic field, maneuvering, strategizing, and completing up their playbooks to clinch the ultimate trophy. All Nigerians have the right to choose without intimidation, without the threat of the cordial or the recourse of the goon squad. He urged all Nigerians that this campaign should be carried out with total adherence to peace without recourse to violence. And now moving on, the leadership of the All Progressives Congress in Rivers State has said it is embarrassing and improper for some of the party governors to visit Governor Wike in complete disregard for the party state chapter. The party warned that the governors were sabotaging efforts to reclaim the former APC-controlled state by paralleling with the People's Democratic Party governor. The warning came in the wake of repeated visits to Wike by APC governors from the Southwest Zone. The River State APC said it was respectful for the APC governors to continue to hobnob with Wike at the expense of the party in the state. Describing such acts as anti-party activity, the leadership of party therefore urged the APC national leadership to prevail on the Southwest governors to desist for what it called an inimical solidarity with the state governor. In his own remarks, the state's APC chairman Emeka Bekee flagged the non-remittance of the 25% of funds generated from the sale of forms to candidates in the state during the party primary to strengthen the party. Bekee demanded support from the national leadership of the party. He emphasized that the state chapter would reciprocate in the same manner it was being treated. Earlier, convener of the meeting and Vice Chairman South-South Zone of APC, Victor Diadom, said the essence of the meeting was to understand clearly the challenges of the party in the state and areas to improve on. Diadom promised to collate the reports of the meeting and send to the national leadership of the party to ensure solution to the complaints raised. Meanwhile, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has confirmed the death of one person in Enugu-Otu Aguleri in Anambra State, following devastating flood disaster in the area. The acting state coordinator, Mr. Thickman Tanimo, disclosed this to newsmen in Oka yesterday, adding that the deceased, identified as Gini Kanwa Izuoba, was reported dead due to the sudden collapse of his apartment occasioned by the impact of the flood. According to him, no fewer than 651,053 persons have been rendered homeless by the disaster in 6 councils of the state. It disclosed that Oba Buru Council recorded the highest number of victims with 208,000 persons, followed by Anambra East 237,000 and Anambra West with 103,000 victims. He said other councils affected were Awka North with 10,345 victims, Ayamelu with 9,240 flood cases with 5,468 displaced persons. He also said that NEMA, accompanied by officials of Anambra State Emergency Management Agency, visited Umueze Anam, Mpando, Igbedo, Inoma, and Ifite Ogwari, all in Anambra East and Ayamelu Council, to assess situations. He pointed out that the assessment team observed that the flood has submerged houses, farmlands, schools, health centers, police stations, and churches, as well as other critical infrastructure. Tanimu commended NEMO for taking some proactive measures to mitigate the impact of the disaster, including identification of 13 internally displaced persons camps, recruitment of camp managers, support staff, and activation of health workers to work with people in the camps. And now on the business scene, the stock market of the Nigerian Exchange Limited maintained its positive momentum in the first 9 months of 2022, gaining 4.15 trillion naira to outshine global markets that have witnessed several volatility. The market capitalization of the NGX had opened in 2022 at 22.297 trillion naira, gaining 4.15 trillion naira or 18.63% to close at 26.451 trillion naira as of September 30th, 2022. Also, the NGX All-Share Index appreciated by 14.8% year-to-date to 49,024.16 basis points from 42,716.44 basis points, and the stock market opened in 2022 for trading. For the global stock markets, the Nasdaq Composite Index has depreciated by minus 20.95% YTD, while the United Kingdom FTSE 100 London Stock Exchange has depreciated by minus 6.44 YTD performance. Other notable stock exchanges which have also recorded decline in performance included the CSI 300 Shanghai Shenzhen minus 16.91% in YTD performance, and Luxembourg Stock Exchange Index minus 25.64 in YTD outcome. However, in the 9 months under review, investors in the Nigerian stock market have witnessed double-digit inflation, scarcity of foreign exchange, uncertainty in global economies, and of course a hike in the monetary policy rate to 15.5%. Investors in the stock market reacted to Central Bank of Nigeria's hike in the MPR, leading to aggressive movements of investors to the fixed income market that comes with low-risk investments and modest yield. The stock markets between June and September witnessed investors' aggressive profit-taking amid the Apex Bank policy to tackle the steady increase in the inflation rate. We'll go on a short break now, and when we come back, it's more updates from the African scene. Just stay with me. And now welcome back in Tunisia. Tunisia's powerful UGTT labor union has no deal with the government on reforming subsidies and publicly owned companies and will lead streets protest over any painful changes, it said on Monday, potentially complicating foreign bailout talks. The government is in talks with the International Monetary Fund for a rescue package that could unlock further bilateral aid for Tunisia to help it avert a looming crisis in public finances. The IMF wants the UGTT on board with economic reform needed to secure the deal, but so far the union has only struck a formal agreement with the government on public sector wage increases, but not on subsidies or state companies. When there are painful choices, we will be with our people on the front lines of the struggle and in the streets, UGTT leader Noureddin Tabobi said in the speech. He confirmed the recent wages deal did not cover any agreement on subsidy or restructuring state companies, and also the two other main areas of fiscal consolidation sought by lenders. Tunisia's central bank governor and its finance and economic ministers are scheduled to meet the IMF in Washington next week for talks on a loan program that the government hopes to secure this month. Now, price increases and food shortages have already spurred some protests in recent weeks against the government, coming after years of low growth and perceived declines in public service that have infuriated many Tunisians. And now moving on, the US military said it killed the leader of the Islamist militant al-Shabaab group with an airstrike in Somalia over the weekend, while the insurgents claimed responsibility for a new attack. Somalia's government said leader was one of the co-founder of the al-Qaeda-linked movement that has killed tens of thousands of people in bombing since 2006. It named him as Abdullah Nordin, al-Shabaab's chief prosecutor, who it said had groups-aligned leader Ahmed Diriye. There was no immediate al-Shabaab. The U.S. Africa Command said it carried out the airstrike near Jilib, about 370 kilometers southwest in the capital Mogadishu on Saturday. Somali security forces, who were backed by U.S. troops and drones and an African Union peacekeeping mission, have touted gains made in recent weeks against al-Shabaab. But the militants, who were fighting to overthrow the Western-backed government and implement their interpretation of Islamic law, have continued to conduct deadly raids, including 2 on Friday that killed at least 16 people. Still on the African scene, the bodies of 4 migrants who died on the Atlantic Ocean in an inflatable dinghy with 34 people on board and a survivor were brought to Spain's Canary island, the local maritime rescue service and an NGO said. The sole survivor was an exhausted 27-year-old man who was found by a cargo vessel on the dinghy alongside the bodies, according to tweets by Elena Molino from Caminado Fronteras, a Spanish non-governmental organization that monitors migratory flows. The survivor, suffering from hypothermia, was flown to the island of Gran Canaria by helicopter on Saturday afternoon, a maritime rescue service spokesperson said yesterday. The rest of the victims, 29 in total, have been swallowed by the ocean, Molino added. They had left from south of Lyon in Western Sahara from January 1st to July 15. At least 9,308 people reached the Canary Islands from Western Africa, according to Spanish government figures, a 27.5% rise compared with the same period in 2021. Now up next, the top headlines making the rounds on the foreign scene. Just stay with me. And that's all we can take on News Update today. Do ensure to follow all our social media platforms displaying on your screen to stay connected and updated to our news and subsequent programs. Once again, I am Deborah Ezeh. Bye for now.